This is Maker's Journal by General Provision with your host, Anthony Cass Clark of the ACC Branding Agency. Make, create, and build. All right, we are here at beautiful GP downtown location with Keith and Corey. Welcome, guys.
Thanks,
appreciate
man.
it.
We appreciate you having us.
Yes.
Thank you.
So, correct me if I'm wrong. So we have co-founders together?
Co-founders, yeah.
All right, co-founders of Locality Bank. I am. Listen, this is amazing to have you guys, man. Thank you for coming. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. No, it's
Thank
our
you.
pleasure. It's kind of weird to hear co-founder and bank, right?
Yeah, right. Exactly. Exactly. But that's amazing. I think you guys are doing something amazing, and it's honestly a pleasure and privilege to talk to you guys and kind of figure out more about what you guys are doing and how this is really going to affect the community and people. Because I know that you guys are all about community.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about. So tell me a little bit more about Locality Bank.
Yeah. So I'll let Keith start because he's the local resident, right? I'm the Louisiana guy trying to transplant myself here.
Yes. Okay.
So, actually, it was given birth to right here in GP.
Wow. It's amazing.
So I had a desk right up there, and that's where the business plan was written. That's where the application was done. You know, a lot of the people in here I got to know during that period of time. So, really had another bank that was called First Green.
Yes.
That was sold in October 2018, and then I had a non-compete for 2 years. So as soon as that ended, which was October of last year, I started to talk to some people in the community. I did some research. I was surprised to see that 5 years ago in Broward County we had 11 community banks headquartered in Broward County, and that when I looked at, just 5 years later, there were only 2.
Wow.
And there were $11 billion in assets in community banks in 2015. 5 years later, there was only like 600 million. So a 94% decrease.
Wow.
And so I'm looking at that, and then I also observed with this PPP that a lot of the small local businesses were not able to get funding, and they were struggling to get funds because the larger companies were sucking up all the money.
Right.
And the banks were not paying attention to the local businesses as much. So I saw this as a real issue for our community and for our local businesses, which really, GP is a good example. I mean, it's the companies that are local that, I've once heard, I love saying, it's local business is the soul of the community.
Indeed.
Right?
Indeed.
That's the only thing that really differentiates when you go from one city to another. You're not going to go to Walmart or you're not going to go to a chain restaurant, right? When you go to a new city, you want to go to that special restaurant.
Exactly.
So anyway, that's how we got started, was with that premise that we have a problem to solve, and that is that small local companies are not getting funds. And so that was the problem we set out to solve. And then I met up with Corey, and he was kind of the missing link because I had, bankers that, I'd been a banker, I got bankers that worked for me before. What I did not have was a super smart technology guy.
The nerd.
That's the next story.
You had to find a
He's
nerd.
not a nerd.
So
He's got tattoos, man.
He's a new age nerd, right?
Yeah.
The bifocals are gone. The suspenders, no more. He's a
Right.
cool looking guy, man.
Appreciate
So
that.
how did this happen? How did you guys connect?
You tell that story.
Yeah, so LinkedIn actually.
Wow.
Right? So I'd been pretty active on social for a while.
Okay.
So I was working with a larger regional community bank in Louisiana, which is where I'm from, and spent 14 years there, and really started to drive probably the past 5 or 6 years on this idea of moving banking more into a digital platform. Mm-hmm. And so to do that, right, you got to be connected to all these tech companies and these providers and these partners to kind of get that stuff done. Mm-hmm. And so LinkedIn and Twitter obviously played a big role in that for me, at least staying in touch.
Of course.
Well, Keith randomly messages me one day and says, hey, I have this idea and I'm really trying to figure out if this will work. Right? Do you have some time to talk about it? And you get a lot of sales, marketing, or random people messaging you, right?
Every day, yeah.
And so typically I would ignore that, right? But there was something about that message that caught my wife's eye because she was managing my social platform. Because as an IT nerd, right, I'm actually probably a default introvert. Right. I have to be extroverted at times, but She said, hey, there's something about what he's saying here I think connects with everything that you've been saying for the past couple of years needs to be done. And so Keith talked about PPP and this whole
So you
stimulus.
just laid it all out in the message.
Yeah.
No, I mean conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. But I was saying what he was saying before though about PPP and everything like that. Well, we've really been looking at this decrease, right, in real support or this ecosystem for small businesses for a number of years even before this. And so when I reached out to him, I really had this idea of, okay, well, let's see what he's trying to do. Let me help him get connected to the right people. But the more he talked about it on the call with me, I was like, I want to be a part of this, right? So I was sitting there in this really comfy job that I could have stayed with for a long time, but I didn't feel like we were doing the things we needed to do to actually get to where I felt we were going to make a significant impact.
Right.
And so what Keith was saying was just resonating with me,
Right.
100%.
So where do you guys think that desire for change comes from? Because that's what I keep hearing, right? You guys are not comfortable. For example, you were in a comfortable position also, right? So
I was laying in my backyard.
right.
Not listen to audio books, but listen to podcasts.
Right. But you're overlooking the landscape, right? Looking at the industry, what's going on, what's happening. And then you see these issues, you see that decrease in numbers, and you're like, how can I solve this? That seems like the connecting piece that connects you both. You guys are both looking to solve a problem. Where does that come from for you?
Well, I think, so I've been here in Fort Lauderdale since 1985. And so I really, even though I was born in Albany, New York, I've been down here for most of my adult life.
You're from Fort Lauderdale.
So to me, when I saw this happening, and I've known a lot of people here, I've known a lot of business people here, and to see them struggling and having a hard time, and I've been involved a lot. I've chaired the Chamber of Commerce here, I've done a lot, I've been on the Broward Workshop, I've been involved with the Continuum of Care for the Homeless, so I've done a lot in this community because I love it.
Right.
And so then to see all this struggle going on with the COVID, and then when I did, as I said, when I looked at the banking situation, I went, well, that adds up. So at that point, I went to a lot of the business leaders here in the community. I talked to Tim, too, who runs General Provision, and to a lot of the other business owners that I knew. I said, listen, I'm a banker, so I think we need another community bank. What do you think? Do we need should I go and do this again, or am I just like the guy who thinks we need this and we don't?
Right.
But what I heard back was overwhelmingly, do it. Do another bank. We need it. And then not only did they say that, but they were like, we'll write you a check.
Wow.
So we got 14 people, we call them founders, who've each pledged to contribute $1 million
Nice.
to us. So right now we've got 19 million of commitments, and we cut it off because people kept saying, oh, we would like to put more, or we'd have other people come in and want to fund. But we really only need about 23 million. So we're saying, well, let's just hold off for now, and we'll come back if we, when we do our capital raise, which will be, probably in a couple months from now, actually.
Right. Okay, that's amazing. And what about you, Keith? So, going from, sorry, Corey.
Oh, you're good.
So, the change aspect, where does that come from for you?
Yeah, no, for me it was, I didn't start in banking, right? So I actually started in the Air Force and technology and infrastructure and development and stuff. And I moved into banking because we were trying to move closer to home, which was Louisiana for us. But when we got there, it really was important to me to understand the business. And I felt like banking has an ethical responsibility to actually create value, right, for the customer, to put it in that customer lens and create good outcomes by the products we have, and not just simply make investors or make certain stakeholders money, right? And so as you start to look at that, when you see this diminishment, right, of the value being created in banks and these small businesses, or even in the consumer side, these customers having to go to third parties and other companies, these fintechs or these other providers, to kind of pull together this cumulative service to really do what they needed to do. And I felt like that was just wrong, right? I felt like as a community bank, if we're going to say we're serving a community or that we're delivering good products and services with a purpose, we need to live by that, right? And so when we start to look at, well, how would we effectively do that now? There's a lot of change that needs to occur in order for us to live up to that every single day. And so when, as me and Keith and the rest of the team sit down and think about that, that's what the lens we're putting this in, right? It's we're not looking at necessarily a loan product or a checking product, right? We're looking at it from this, this vision concept to empower small businesses to, maximize their potential, if you will.
Right.
And so and to do that, there's a lot of things in banking that is broken, and there's a lot of things that we need to start to connect so that we can actually, fulfill that for the businesses legitimately.
Listen, I see how you guys raise funds because I'm sold. So you got my check.
I have to say one thing though. This guy is so amazing that he measures. So he's in Louisiana, right? And I reach out to him on LinkedIn. He's been at. This is not a guy who like jumps around in jobs.
No.
He's been in the Air Force and he's been in a bank for 14 years, the same bank. And he leaves to join me to do a startup.
Yeah.
I'm just like, I was so blown away by that. I admire him so much for the courage to just, jump in.
But Keith,
He didn't even know me.
Yeah, but I think that speaks to, a lot about Corey, but it also speaks to your character, right?
Exactly.
'Cause I've known you for about 5 minutes, right? And you seem like an amazing guy. And you're telling the story how you connected to all the local business owners, right? Tell them about this idea, and they overwhelmingly responded in such a great manner that they wrote you a check. Give some advice to an entrepreneur or someone who's launching a startup out there that's looking to raise money for their business that you think will help.
So it's very difficult to raise money. So the first time, I've done this twice. This is my third bank, so that helps.
That's it.
Okay, because I have a track record.
Exactly. Very heavy resume.
So that helps a lot. But the first time I raised money, it was one of the scariest moments of my life because we started a bank in 2009, and you remember 2009, right?
Exactly.
So everybody's like, "Are you crazy?" And we had all these commitments just like we do now, and then 2009 hit. And I'm calling people and they're saying, who?
Wrong number.
Yeah. And it's like, and so it looked, and we had invested a bunch of money and, so I was, that was one of the scariest moments of my life. And it really was like that moment of wondering if we were going to get that money raised somehow. By the grace of God, because I was praying. I didn't know what else to do. I was in church every day praying at St. Anthony's because I had nothing else that I could do.
Right.
So the money came in. We got $12.5 million raised, and the three biggest investors, 2 of them are dead and 1 is in prison. So that's a story.
Wow.
One of them was shot by the police. One of the guys that was there. So,
Oh my goodness.
so you get money, however. So. I'm not recommending that.
No,
Okay.
no, that was the previous
Right.
investors.
Right.
Our other
When you're
investors are
desperate.
still doing pretty good.
Everyone's free, okay?
Yeah, everyone's doing really good on this side.
But I don't know. That's a struggle. It's a character builder to raise money, and it's funny because I was just having breakfast with a couple of my friends and who have raised money too. And the truth is, the people, when you can build relationships with people, because the people that invest in that first bank, they didn't care what that PPM looked like, right? They didn't even open that thing. They said, we're investing in you.
Right.
And that's what you find is, so my advice to anybody in business is build good character, build a reputation. And then when you go to people and you ask them for money, they don't care to see your business plan because they know you'll be successful. They know, listen, there's no predictor for success, right? But at least they know you'll be ethical and honest.
Right.
And if you don't, nobody blames somebody if they have a failure, right? Everybody has a failure. That's part of learning and growing. But as long as you're ethical and honest and you build that kind of reputation in the community, you will eventually be able to raise money.
Amazing. So let's talk about Locality Bank, where we are right now. So where are you guys in your stage of launch?
Yeah, so we're in the formation phase, right? So we're working right now with the state of Florida for a charter so that we can actually be a real bank and not just a tech company off of a bank. We're also working with the FDIC to get insurance so we can become a full bank entity. And on the backside of that, we're working with some strategic partners and some tech vendors to start to develop the product and the service that we're going to build, right? We know the problem, we know the gaps that exist, and now it's starting to align those technologies and those abilities to something and create this customer journey that can actually live up to it, right? And so that's what we're doing. We're at GP at the beginning of the week, sitting down with one of our prime tech vendors, mapping all of that out. So we had our bankers, and you have me, the tech nerd, right? Then you have someone from the compliance side from our team. Then you have this marketing aspect, and you get a collection of people in a room, and we start to map this thing out. And it was beautiful because the original idea still remained at the end of the day, but it looked so much more clear, right? And so that's kind of where we are right now, is we're putting the pieces together so that when we get to that point where we can put something in the market, that it creates value. And it's, look, we realize that we're going to make change to that over time, but that's kind of where we are right now, is let's get something that is significant out there to start.
Nice. Okay, so this is, of course, hot topic of the century right now, right?
Right.
Where everyone's talking about it. You can't turn on your TV without talking about it. Cryptocurrency, right? So, as finance guys, right, launching the bank, how does cryptocurrency play a role in fintech moving forward? Do you guys see a future in cryptocurrency? Do you think it's going to be important? And then how, if so, how does it play a role?
Yeah. You want me to take that one first?
Yeah, why don't you go ahead?
Yeah, so I think cryptocurrency is interesting, right? So the volatility of it from a banking perspective is always concerning, right? So trying to figure out how do you start to quantify exactly what it is that we're measuring, right?
Elon Musk's voice.
Yeah, Elon Musk's voice. I mean, my son, he's 20 years old, and he, got me and my wife to invest in.
No way this guy has a son that's 20 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
This
I do.
guy's 20.
I do. No, not at all. Look, if I pull the hat off, you'll know really quick. But yeah, so my son, but he talked me and my wife into investing in Dogecoin, right? So now we've been following this Dogecoin.
You're a Doge? I didn't know that.
Yeah, so we did. And
Doge to the moon, right?
yeah, exactly. So I'm watching Saturday Night Live, waiting for him to say something crazy, and I was like, "This is insane," right?
Right.
But there is some key things that we need to watch for, though. So like blockchain and some of the elements that support cryptocurrency. And then also, as you look at the regulators and you start to look across globally, is if you start to get these more formation of this validity to some of these things, it gets really interesting. Then from a blockchain perspective, from security, authentication, data records, right? So we've seen this massive transformation that's happening just in every industry, banking included, where data has become kind of this driver, right? So the more people move to digital first, which that's where most people live today, the more data gets created. And so securing that and creating control so that you, right, have the ultimate, control or security around your data. You get to dictate where it is, who has it, why they use it, when they use it, and if you don't like it anymore, you can turn it off. Right? And so stuff like blockchain enables us the ability to kind of do some stuff and actually keep some ledgers in place on this digital component. And so there is some very significant pieces when you start to break that down. But cryptocurrency in itself, there's financial institutions obviously trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
We're definitely going to be monitoring it, but it's making sure that we can actually put some value to it.
Of course, right. Because we're looking at fundamentals here. Like, what are the fundamentals? And that seems to be missing.
Yeah.
Right from this, like, okay, we can't operate the entire business on this. Okay,
No.
for sure. So, if anyone's listening to this podcast right now and they're looking to support Locality, right? Like, this is amazing. These founders sound incredible. I want to support. I want to move my money over to Locality. What can they be doing right now to support you guys? I know it's still early, but I see that you guys are accepting email addresses, right, for mailing lists and newsletters and such. Tell me.
Yes.
Yeah, so they can go to our website, right, Corey?
Yep.
And basically get on our mailing list. And so right now, since we're not a bank yet, right, so we won't become a bank until probably towards the end of the year. That's the process we're going through. So we, as Corey said, we've got our applications in, but we probably will not hear back for 4 or 5 months because government doesn't work that quickly.
It's
And
fun
they
being
also-
a bank.
They also ask it detailed.
Yes, I can
It is
only
a brutal.
imagine.
It is a brutal process.
I can only imagine.
So, but if people are interested, yes, we do. We can take your email address and let you know as we. And the other thing that we're looking at doing is creating locality money. So people are familiar with like Chime or some of these other.
Yes.
So those aren't banks, right? They're just apps that use a bank in the background. So what we're looking at doing is developing locality money through our technology company, Nimbus, to be able to offer all the services that we could as a bank ahead of time. So that's something that we're working on right now that would enable us to have clients so that when we get our bank charter, we can just move them to our bank.
Right. That's amazing.
Yeah.
I like that. That's a great job.
Yeah, so
I
yeah,
like
the
that.
goal is sign up, right? Go to the website, sign up for the newsletter. That way we can get more information out to you about, the timing and some of these things that we might be launching, but also, reach out to us, right?
Right.
Contact us through the systems and give us your thoughts, right? If you're a small business and you're trying to manage that day to day and you're having problems, we want to know what those problems are, right? We don't want you to put it inside of a box, right, of what product or service you want, but tell me the things you hate about you're managing your finances as a business, because in the customer interviews we've had up to this point, it's been pretty surprising, some of the things that's frustrated them day to day, and we want to know those things because that's what we're trying to solve, right?
That's amazing. I like that, man. So what's the website that people can go
So it's www.localitybank.com.
Okay, do yourself a favor, please enlist your email so you can get this good information. I'm telling you, these guys are on a roll, and you want to make sure you follow the journey and to support them when they actually go to market and they launch. Thank you guys so much for this interview.
Absolutely.
It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, Anthony.
No, wonderful, wonderful. So, any last words, guys?
No, we appreciate you having us, and we appreciate the support, right? We're excited to kind of get this, this entity rolling and get the product out in the market so that we can start to make an impact, right? We think that's significant.
And we appreciate the help we got from General Provision
Yes,
for
sir.
getting started,
Yes, sir.
and they're great people.
Shout out to Tim, man. We love you.
Definitely.
All right, thanks, guys. Thank you for listening. As always, peace, blessings, cheers.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.